What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part. I'm so excited to upload this one for you guys because Disney Plus has uploaded the 6th episode of the final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and today we'll be taking a look at episode 6, Deal No Deal. So episode 6 is the second episode to Ahsoka's story taking place outside the Jedi Order, and it seems that Trace is really going to trust Ahsoka a lot, to the point where she almost sees Ahsoka as her sister. Almost. However, while Trace is very open with Ahsoka, Rafa, on the other hand, isn't ready to trust her yet. And the overall theme of this episode is basically about trust. While Trace is able to trust Ahsoka's judgment, Rafa still thinks that Ahsoka is hiding something from them. Which is correct, because while Ahsoka is able to get along with them, she still isn't comfortable with telling them the fact that she was once a Jedi. Anyway, so the story of this episode is mostly about a spice fuel trade that Rafa has set up. And while Trace is very eager to fly her new ship, Ahsoka also tags along just to make sure that those two don't get into too much trouble. And while Trace is very happy to see her new friend tag along on this adventure, Rafa isn't ready to trust someone outside of her family. And that's what makes this episode great. Because while you have moments where Trace is just boasting about how she's got the fastest ship in the galaxy, there are moments where Ahsoka is very curious about this spice deal. And there are moments where Rafa begins to wonder as to how does Ahsoka know more about this spice deal than she does. And while there are moments where you'll have Ahsoka and Rafa argue, there are also moments in this episode where you'll see the two of them agree with one another. Also, one of my favorite moments in this episode is actually a callback to Return of the Jedi. In the episode, the girls are flying Trace's ship out of Coruscant just before they encounter a Republic ship. And while they are trying to fly as casual as possible, Admiral Yularen and Anakin Skywalker are ready to stop the ship dead in its tracks. That is until Anakin senses Ahsoka's presence and then decides to let her and her friends go. And at that moment, my brother looked at me and said, "It just did a callback to episode 6. And it took me a while to realize that this scene was very identical to that moment in Return of the Jedi when Luke, Han, and Leia flew casually past Vader's ship, and both Luke and Vader could sense each other as they were passing by. And I love how this series is able to show how some of these moments in Anakin's life will happen again when he's Darth Vader. One other thing I also like about this episode is that this one takes us to Kessel. And if you saw Solo, you're in for a treat when this episode takes you to some of the places that were in the movie. I think it's pretty cool how moments like these are slowly tying the Star Wars universe together, whether it's in movies, TV shows, video games, or even novels. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode because it's basically about a spice deal gone bad. And I also love how Ahsoka has really matured, not just in this episode, but throughout the whole series as well. Because if you had season 1 Ahsoka in this episode, her, Trace, and Rafa would be in way much more trouble than they're already in. But since Ahsoka has been through a lot, she has become just as mature and responsible as her former master, to the point where she's basically become the mentor to both Trace and Rafa. Because in her eyes, while Trace and Rafa are very just as free-spirited as she was, they are also very ignorant, arrogant, and just as reckless as she was. And that makes this episode much more fun when you watch how Ahsoka has to make sure these two sisters don't get themselves killed. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall review for the 6th episode of the final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars. If you like what you saw, click the subscribe button so you can get all these updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.